My husband, 34, and I, 32 female, have been together for 6 years and now have a baby. I moved to the Bay Area from the East Coast for him and our life together. I've made a lot of sacrifices on my end, and I'm starting to become resentful towards my husband and in-laws. For background context, I come from an immigrant family. I was raised poor and have done very well for myself. I was the first one in my entire extended family to go to college, and still the only one to be a collegiate athlete. I've worked since I was 14 at any hosting or waitressing gig I could find. To this day, I still help support my family financially, just as most eldest children of immigrants do. Regardless, I managed to save up $250,000 by age 27. I fell in love with my husband at that age and decided to move out to where he lived after 1.5 years of a long-distance relationship. We were both on the same page about what we wanted in life, with family, etc. My now husband, however, is a white male with a relatively privileged background in comparison. Moving 3,000 miles away from everything I knew was challenging, but I jumped in, made it work, and found a way. After only 3 months of moving to California, I found a good-paying job in a new industry, an SLC career that I wanted to pursue. Quickly, in 5 years, I'm now able to make what I had originally saved up annually. As everyone knows, living in California is no easy feat financially, but my large lump savings have allowed us to become homeowners. After having a baby, however, the stress of finances and reliable help has heightened. Daycare for a 40-hour work week is $3,000 to $4,400 a month in my area. As hard as I've researched, there's nothing under $2,900 a month before tax are taken out. That's easily the equivalent of a $60,000 to $70,000 job. My mother-in-law is a retired preschool teacher of almost 40 years. Part of the reason for my move was to have my mother-in-law around to help raise our babies. She seems like a perfect fit, right? We weighed out all 3 options. Move to him, move to me, or move somewhere new entirely. We both wanted to be close to family and decided that my husband's family would be the most ideal. He's also kind of guilt-tripped me into agreeing that since they were older than my parents, it's best to spend more time with them, as we'll have more time with my mom later. My mother-in-law, however, is the most passive-aggressive person I've ever met, but only to me. She has 2 sons, to whom I'm married. The youngest, she doesn't have a good relationship with. Her other daughter-in-law and I are quite different in her eyes. I've always gone above and beyond to be kind and giving to her, in comparison to her other daughter-in-law. I'm a complete 180. She has a key and an open-door policy to my place, so I converse and spend time with her for hours. I constantly cook and buy dinner for them every week. I'm thoughtful and buy all the family presents for all holidays and birthdays. She's the sweetest thing when the men are around, but when it's just us, she always throws jabs at me, from saying things like, "Oh my, you sure you weren't going to break your ankle in those? Or are you just trying to get attention?" To, "Wow, more food. Are you trying to make me fat or outdo me? Is that new? I've never seen it. And do you have a shopping addiction?" To even, "I'm not sure we need you around here, making us look bad. You sure you don't miss the East Coast?" I take it on the chin with a smile and always change the subject, as I was taught not to talk back to my elders. My husband said he would take care of the baby once it was time for me to go back to work. Weeks before that time, she started dropping hints about how busy she was with volunteering and sending daycare recommendations. Everything seemed fine when she and my husband talked, and she started watching the baby 5 times a week. I'm the one who does the drop-off and pick-up, however, and I have to hear it every day, 2 times a day. To her son, she only says how happy and lucky she is that she gets to spend time with her granddaughter, etc. To me, she says that it takes up so much of her time and that it's boring watching a baby. My husband doesn't even believe me after sacrificing my family, which I miss so deeply, my friends, and even my passion in life, which was coaching youth sports. Just to jump into the corporate BS world, because I quickly recognized that's what it would take to live comfortably out here. I'm drained. All my money, time, effort, and energy have gone into him and his family, pretty much. And I can't even get the support I was promised. Honestly, it would have been easy for me to just buy a house straight up for $250,000 on the East Coast, have no mortgage, just coach, and make a little money. But it was what made me happy, and to have my mom around who would happily help with our babies. Instead, I've given it all to this man for this situation, and for my mother-in-law to constantly complain about how much I do for you, instead of recognizing how much I've done for her son. It infuriates me. My mother would view this as a privilege, not a burden, and cries every time we have to FaceTime. My mother-in-law has asked me to take a day or two off work every week and make sure you try to be here by 2 when my shows start. I'm at a breaking point. I've been sneaking into work late and getting out early for months just to ease her load. But I'm struggling at work, and my results are noticeable now. I also make more money than my husband by 6 figures and have financial pressures on my back. One day, I snapped back with, "That's something you're going to need to talk to your son about." And it all broke loose. My husband came home angry that I had said so many derogatory things to his mom, shamed her for not being a good enough caretaker, the works. She then said she needed space, and I took a week off work to take care of the baby. I want to try to smooth things over with her after a couple of days, and found her incredibly hammered at 9 a.m. in the morning, stumbling on her words and feet. My father-in-law came out looking mortified and tried to hide her back in her room. I figured she was upset and left it at that, only to try to return the next morning to the same thing. After talking to my husband, he finally tells me that she's a struggling alcoholic and has been for 50 years. He says, but she's a functioning alcoholic, so she just needs to get this intense period out of her system. She'll bounce back. The rage and disbelief I had with both the situation and my husband was out of control. Was she drinking while watching the baby? You knew about this and put our daughter in that situation to save money on daycare. You let our daughter there knowingly functioning. What the heck was all her BS? A way to get distance so she could drink? The more I thought back, the more I realized there were days when I thought she was loopier than others. Was that her drinking? A moderate amount after talking to my sister-in-law. It was clear that she's been drinking every day without a day off for the last 20 years. That's why they had a tainted relationship. I didn't talk to my husband for days and started looking for other homes on the East Coast, closer to my family. After a couple of days, I sat him down and said, "This is it. Here are other homes we can move to, or you get another job to cover the bills, or I'm reporting all of you to CPS, and there's no more us in our family." It feels harsh, so am I the idiot for bluntly dropping this ultimatum on my husband? Not the idiot. Your husband put your child at risk of harm, and you're taking action to protect your child, which he should have taken from the beginning. Run back to where the people who love you are on the East Coast, divorce, and sell your house before you leave. Do not let them take that from you, since you contributed so much to buying it. Try to get at least half. "Hey honey, let's live on the West Coast so my intoxicated mom can watch the baby." This was his original plan. I am at a loss to figure out his logic, and I'm shocked she's even staying with the husband after finding out he willingly, albeit inactively, allowed it like there was no issue. I'd go for divorce if I ever found out that my partner was willingly putting our baby in danger like that. Yeah, she's wrong for the ultimatum. If you have to threaten to call to CPS, you should just leave and call CPS. Don't hide the CPS level problems just so you can get what you want. There are still CPS level problems. OP needs to contact CPS immediately because that's going to help when it comes to dealing with custody when OP finally wakes up and divorces this idiot before moving back to the East Coast. Seriously, OP, why wasn't that one of your potential plans? Also, not that this is important compared to the alcoholic babysitter, but why is OP in charge of taking the child to and from the mother-in-law's house? Why does OP's husband do it? She works and is the main breadwinner, so it seems like at the very least one could drop the child off and the other could pick them up. Also, why doesn't he have the responsibility to take care of his own child since they rely on her income more than his? Your husband really brings nothing to the table. It's time to stop letting them treat you as a second-class citizen. File for divorce and child support and move back to where your family is. My partner, 30M, and I, 29, are getting married next year. We're discussing wedding planning, and out of the blue, he asked me how I feel about subverting tradition by having him wear the wedding dress while I wore the tux on our wedding day. When he said this, I actually laughed out loud because I was sure it was a joke, but it turned out he was dead serious. He said he finds tuxes are very similar to each other and feel a lot like wearing a suit to a job interview, but he wanted to wear something special when he got married. He's always thought wedding dresses were so beautiful and different from each other. I told him no, it wouldn't be appropriate, and it would turn our wedding into a spectacle, which would change a lot of the way our friends and family view us. My family is quite progressive, but even they would wonder what was going on. He said okay, but seemed down for the rest of the night. We're both very progressive and have several close friends who are gender nonconforming, non-binary, or simply like cross-dressing, so that's never been an issue. But even though we've been together for 5 years, he's never expressed any desire to do so before. It would be okay with me if he wanted to experiment, and I think it would be a different story if this seemed integral to his daily identity and he wanted that to be reflected in our wedding. I just don't understand why he wants the first time to be on our wedding day. Am I the idiot for being controlling over his wedding attire choices? Holy moly. I think you need to have a much deeper conversation with your fiancé before the wedding. If he wants to wear something unique to him, he can have an outfit custom made for him. If he wants to use the wedding as a platform for announcing something much bigger, that's a conversation that needs to be had. Don't marry until this is resolved. Your fiancé seems to be trying to tell you something before marrying him. Listen to him. What strikes me as weird is why you had to wear the tux if they're boring. Why do you have to wear one if he doesn't want to? My first thought is he's more attracted to you that way, dressed as a man. Why not ask to both wear dresses if he wants to wear one? That's fine, but what does it have to do with what you're wearing? Why are you in a tux? You got a lot of soul searching to do. Opie, and probably your fiancé too. Absolutely. Also, there are tuxes that don't look like going to work suits that he could find to make him feel special. But a conversation needs to be had before you get married. Good luck, OP. Update. Based on these responses, I realize I may have overreacted. I had another conversation with my fiancé. I tried to explore the reasons he wanted to wear a dress to our wedding in an open-minded way. I emphasized that he could tell me if he was trans, non-binary, or wanted to experiment with cross-dressing, and I'd still love him and want to marry him. He seemed genuinely taken aback and told me it wasn't that big a deal. He just really liked wedding dresses. It hadn't even occurred to him that I might have a problem with him wearing one, since it's one of the 2 most common options. We have been to weddings where both partners were dressed in suits, or both were in tuxes, after all. It's not like he's contemplating wearing sweats to our wedding, lol. But of course, if I did, he would be fine wearing a tux. He has no problem with me wearing a dress. The reverse rose thing was just one of the many ways he thought that could go. He also reassured me that he would feel safe sharing any changes in his gender or identity status with me. I told him we could look at wedding dresses together and coordinate whatever made us both feel special, whether that's dress, tux, or something else, lol. Can we cut it out with the my fiancé's gay comments? I'm pretty sure if he was gay, then he would just be gay, rather than go through an elaborate scheme of being in a 5-year relationship with and marrying a woman for cover, and then doing the least stealth thing possible at our wedding. I don't know where y'all are from, but being gay is not considered a big deal or something you have to hide where we are. I'm very open about being myself, and he has several family members who are gay and are wholly accepted. Quick details: daughter teen is a junior in high school and has excelled her entire life at volleyball. She plays on a prestigious club team in our area and is currently being scouted by Division I universities. 2 weeks ago, her high school had a prom. She went, even though I thought she couldn't, because she had an out-of-town tournament that she skipped to attend the prom. Other girls on the team missed their school prom for this tournament. I told her what I thought she should do, but I allowed her to make her own decision and wouldn't interfere. She had another tournament this past weekend, where, unsurprisingly, she barely played. She normally starts and plays most games, but she sat on the bench most of the time for this tournament. She told me that she thinks this is unfair and she's being benched because she went to prom. She wants me to talk to the coach about her decision and ensure it doesn't happen again. I told her what I felt. I explained that she was part of a team and had a commitment to them, and she decided to be selfish and go to a silly dance. She argued with me, saying that this was a special occurrence. I reminded her of 2 things. 1, the other girls on the team prioritized the tournament over their proms, and 2, she's lucky to be as talented as she is and will most likely not have to pay for college. This is an opportunity all those prom-goers would probably love to have. I warned her this would happen, and she decided not to listen. She's still upset with me. I told her I hope she learned something about being part of a team. My husband thinks I'm wrong, because prom is important to a teenager, and he thinks the coach is being unfair. But I have zero issues with what the coach did. You are the idiot. Holy crap. Your daughter's literally excelling in life, being scouted by Division I universities, and you're upset that she wants to have the slightest hint of a social life. If she was a general underperformer or did something genuinely bad, sure, but all this girl did was go to one social event, and she's being blatantly punished for it. Sure, the other girls went to the tournament, and that's great, but your daughter starts and plays most tournaments because she's a skilled player. Suddenly, she's sitting on the bench. That's just blatant retaliation for missing one tournament. And instead of helping her stand up for herself, you're scolding her for daring to want to do anything but work for one night. Okay, by helping her stand up for herself, you mean going to the coach as a parent and telling them how to do their job. That's the kind of parenting that ruins sports for both kids and coaches. OP's not the idiot. The coach has to do what's best for the team. The coach has decided that means playing your daughter less, and that's the coach's decision. Talking to the coach is not going to do your daughter any favors. She put herself above the team, and the sooner she learns that her choices will have natural consequences, the better, dude. It's high school age volleyball, LOL. She's not a pro. Jesus Christ, if she's good enough to play D1, she's getting a scholarship regardless. They won't pull a scholarship offer because a student went to prom. But guess, lady, you need to fix your dismissive, condescending attitude and actually be a parent. You don't need to talk to the coach, but you can support your daughter's right to decide, even if you disagree.